The hunters were enjoying roasted wild boar liver, its rich flavor filling their mouths, immersing them in pure bliss. Today, luck was on their side, making the Hazabi hunters feel excited after successfully hunting a big, juicy wild boar. This feast meant that for the next few days, everyone in the tribe could enjoy a hearty meal. In this remote wilderness, the life of the Hazabi people feels like an old, simple song, living in harmony with nature in the most basic, primal way. The hunters hurried back to their temporary camp with their catch. The wild boar meat was tender, full of rich fat, perfect for many cooking methods. Grilling was their top choice. Without wasting any time, they quickly started the fire. You might think they would use a lighter, but that's not how they do it. The Hazabi rely on natural fire sources, especially using dry plants and dung to light the fire, bringing out the food's purest flavor. The first step in preparing the boar is cleaning the fur. They place the boar on the fire, its fur igniting, crackling, and sizzling, with the air filled with a delicious aroma. The prepared boar legs had a warm, golden hue. The meat was firm, with visible muscle fibers. The tender meat seemed to tell the story of the wild boar running freely through the wilderness, making everyone's mouth water. The Hadza people live in northern Tanzania, a small group that still follows their traditional way of life. Their language is part of the Cushitic family spoken in East Africa. Known for their deep connection with nature, the Hadza rely on hunting, gathering, and fishing for food. Most people in the tribe lead simple lives, depending on natural resources to meet their daily needs. They don't engage in traditional farming, instead focusing on hunting wild animals. They mainly hunt small mammals, birds, and gather edible plants like roots and fruits. Their hunting tools include bows, arrows, and spears. Besides hunting, the Hadza are also skilled at gathering wild plants, like roots, fruits, and edible leaves. Their society is relatively equal, with no strict social hierarchies. The Hadza live in tribes and place great importance on family and community ties. They help each other out, sharing food and resources. Because they live in a remote area, the Hadza have little reliance on modern technology, and many continue to follow ancient traditions. However, as modernization spreads, they face challenges like land loss, climate change, and cultural pressure. To protect their way of life, they often work with nearby communities and governments to defend their land and resources. The Hadza are one of the few remaining groups still living in the traditional hunter-gatherer way, offering a unique glimpse into human history and cultural evolution. After discussing, the hunters decided to roast one pig leg while sending the other to relatives far away, whom they fondly call old relatives. Even though they don't see each other often, their bond remains strong, and pork is a symbol of their connection. The better the meat, the stronger the bond. The loyal dogs weren't forgotten, and the hunters generously gave them some of the offal. The dogs followed the hunters eagerly, now able to enjoy their well-earned share. The pig leg was skewered, and the hunters' grilling skills were impressive, creating a dish that could easily be called a masterpiece. Other meat pieces were set aside, dried to prevent spoilage, since the journey to old relatives was a long one. Roasted pig liver was today's appetizer, enjoyed by the hunters. The fresh liver, cooked over the fire, released a mouth-watering aroma. Crispy on the outside, tender inside, it was a delicacy of the grasslands. The liver's flavor was rich and complex, with a touch of wildness. It carried the fragrance of the grasslands and the warmth of the fire, and with every bite, one felt the beauty of nature. This is just the starter. The real highlight is the roasted pig leg. The meat is tender and juicy, with a crispy golden skin. Each bite bursts with rich flavor. The hunters dive into the meat with excitement, as if it's the best meal they've ever had. Once they've finished eating, they head out again. Though they don't see their distant relatives often, the bond between them is as strong as the pork they share. The journey is long, but the waterhole gives them a brief moment of coolness and rest in the hot African plains. When they arrive at the camp, the hunters give a deer leg to their relatives with simple but sincere words of thanks. Clearly, the relatives have been eagerly waiting for this meal. The hunters get to work immediately, cutting the pig leg with sharp knives, like a special slicing song. No fancy chopping board here. The tough bones are just placed on a tree stump and hacked away. The fresh bones shine, as if they still carry the wild energy of the hunt. The pieces of meat are too big to fit in the pot, so the hunters quickly grab a bigger one. No seasoning, just trust in the natural ingredients, letting the food speak for itself. The ingredients are carefully placed on the stove, the ritual showing their respect for nature and food. While waiting for the food to simmer, the hunters stay busy, crafting handmade utensils with their skill and creativity. Clever Dudu has already prepared the bowls, ready for the feast to come. Someone starts playing a musical instrument, and cheerful melodies fill the air in the camp. After a while, the pot starts bubbling, the bubbles rising and popping, filling the air with a rich aroma, spreading far and wide. The pot gives off a soft bubbling sound, as if the food is calling them. After a patient wait, the food is perfect. The tender chunks of meat gently shaking in the pot, with foam floating on top like clouds, rolling with the water. The smell is so strong, the hunters can't resist and dive in. Each bite of pork feels like a bite of happiness. The perfectly cooked pork releases a deep, mouth-watering aroma, rising with the steam, filling the air. The scent not only delights the hunters, but makes anyone watching crave it, as if they could almost taste the heat and savory aroma themselves. The morning light gently filled the sky, like a soft painting coming to life. It was so beautiful, it almost took their breath away. The hunters were up early, ready to start their hunt. At the same time, other creatures might be waking up, starting their day too. On this wide-open plain, the hunters followed the scent of their prey. But their lives weren't just about hunting, it was also about dreams and survival. After searching for a while, they finally spotted their target. It wasn't the smartest one, but they caught it. With the help of their loyal dogs, the hunters successfully trapped their prey. It took patience and effort, but they pulled the little animal from its hiding place. Finally, they had breakfast, but they knew it wouldn't be enough to feed them all. So they packed up and went out again, hoping for a bigger catch for lunch. Out here on the vast plains, life for the Hadza people is full of challenges and hopes. They're strong, resilient, and always in tune with nature. After a long search, the hunters found some wild eggs, small but packed with protein. Because they're natural, they cook them the traditional way. They use water from the land, letting the eggs cook slowly, no modern tools involved, just the simplest, purest methods. The eggs, once cooked, are soft and smooth, with yolks as rich as the sunset. Every bite is full of the raw, natural energy of the land, the taste of nature at its finest. But a few eggs weren't enough to fill them up, so they knew they needed a bigger catch, one that could feed the whole tribe. After more effort, the hunters managed to capture a much bigger prize and took it back to camp. Now they had enough food to last for days. The hunters were eager to cook, so they quickly set up their fire. They used traditional methods, passing down the skills of their ancestors. The food went into the pot without being washed and began to cook slowly, its rich smell filling the air. The hunters gathered around, eyes full of anticipation, ready to enjoy the meal they worked so hard for. After a while, the food started bubbling, with small bubbles rising from the pot, like little spirits bringing the meal to life. The scent of the food filled the air, carrying the essence of the grasslands. Each bite promised something special, a taste of happiness and contentment. Finally, the meal was ready, and with the deep flavors and rich aromas, the hunters were more than ready to dig in, feeling like they were in the perfect place.